But you've kind of been a fixture in Twitter and whatnot for the past couple of days. Oh, and
Yes,
by the
indeed.
way, too, for the people in the room, man, Coop has a dope top five out. You know, y'all check that out after the show. He
That's what
did
I
the
want
top five
to. Right.
Scarface songs. Keep plugging that throughout the show too. Shout out to Man Nan in the building. He says, "Salute guys, Coop. Why you delete the post? Stand your ground." Okay, I want to get. I want to go
Okay, I
there
didn't.
first. Let's go there
I
first.
didn't. Well,
What post?
well,
You
we need to
talk?
go
They're
through a
talking
lot
about
of
the
things with
video.
that. No. That truly is going to take a minute. But as far as like the deletes, I'm not the one that deleted any posts.
No, no, no. And I think people might be referring to the actual video. And so, okay,
Oh,
when
no. He
yeah,
referenced something.
yeah,
No. Like he made reference to me getting paid off of him.
yeah.
My retort to that was, well, if you feel that way about it, we could just take your video down. And I also let one of his followers know that, like, based on the amount of views that we had up to that segment on that point, it was about $7 or $8 worth of revenue, and that we would be more than willing to cash that to him if he felt that way, because that's what we had made off that video. And so,
Right, right.
and first of all, I don't have the power to delete anything because you sit at the control board, so I have to run that through and by you in order for that to be okay. And so at the moment that he took issue with it, I let you know, and I was
Well,
like,
you
well,
and I
let's
were
just
on
take
the
it down, and
phone.
you agreed, and so we did.
Yeah, Coop and I were on the phone, and when Lupe went to the whole thing of, you're making money off of my likeness, yada yada, and I think he posted the video in his Twitter feed with his image as the thumbnail, and we're like, okay, well, if you feel that way, we could just delete the video. That's fine. That's kind of where that was coming from. That wasn't deleting the video in the sense of anybody backing down from any of the quote unquote statements. And again, me and Coop really weren't even on the same side on that debate in itself. And we're going to get to that too. But, again, if Lupe felt like just us conversing about him was our way of, trying to have a money grab, we wanted to make sure that that definitely wasn't the intention. So that's why the video was deleted,
Yeah,
just to kind of
yeah,
clarify that. Go ahead.
let's take it off. I mean, let's take that off the table.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, no, that is
But
fine.
since we
And
are,
honestly, the
and since
live is
and since
still up there, which, the live actually has that portion of the show on it as well.
right.
So, but the live thumbnail that we used didn't use his likeness or anything because that really wasn't the main topics of the show. So, we just kept that one up there. Fantasy731 says, I know you guys have been busy, but did y'all get a chance to listen to The Cold Vein by Cannibal Ox yet? Have not. I will make sure that I make that a point this evening or tomorrow. You know what? Tomorrow during my workday, that's going to be what I'm playing.
I'm officially notating that because you have sent it to us
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that we can listen. So I just
Definitely.
made it. I just notated it as well. It will be listened to by me as well. Maybe not tomorrow, but definitely before we pull up on Friday.
Definitely. And we've pinned the yearbook all the way to the top of the chat. Cool. You want to go ahead and, just have the floor and just talk about what's kind of been going on, and
Well,
because I have my thoughts too, and but I,
I
I
want to
I
hear.
want you
Hold
to
on.
go
I'm going
ahead
to
and
speak since we're on the subject matter of deleting things. I'm going to kind of like address that, and then I'm going to let you speak your perspective on it in all
okay.
honesty, and then I feel like I can unpack some of the things that I'd like to after that. Just kind of keep it fair because I do have a lot to say
Go
and
ahead.
to juxtapose.
Go ahead. I'm
So,
here to listen.
as
I know
far
the
as the
people are here to
deletion is
listen too.
concerned, as far as the deletion is concerned, and I tweeted this to him earlier today. We're going to get into the subject matter of the content of those deleted tweets at a later date because that's a whole nother matter. Okay. But as far as the respectability aspect of it in a debate, when you were debating somebody, for whatever it is, it could be, presidential, it could be senator, it could be mayoral, it could be running for class president. Never is somebody retracting statements considered to be victorious in debate. Okay? It's never looked at a good thing, as a good thing, when you have to run back and retract the statement. We watch presidential debates where when the candidates double back, the pundits who grade and rate the debates on various media outlets after bring that up as a knock and a mark against.
No, back up, and I know you might be about to get to it, but I just want to make sure, like, what was the debate actually about, and what statements were retracted, deleted, or what do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, he sent a couple of tweets out my way that, quite frankly, were letting me know who he was and that I really wasn't much of a match for him, just like the short and the long of it. That's what I mean, is it's like that would be a whole nother situation to go in and unpack those. I just kind of like snapshotted those literally and figuratively and kind of kept it pushing because it's another dichotomy for another day. And I kind of want to keep it to where we were at, which was the Shakespeare reference that he made. And that's where I want to go because that's where all of this really came from. And, and quite frankly, I didn't really say my full thoughts and my full knowledge on the situation on Twitter because, quite frankly, Twitter isn't the space where you can really speak like that. And quite frankly, I knew his fans and he was going to do what he did, which was try to carry it on his terms. Now that he's done that and fulfilled his ego, let's start unpacking the actual factual about the matter and why I made reference on many levels to why I said what I said, because we're going to break it down on a racial level, since he said my diatribe was racist. We're going to break it down on a fundamental writing level, and we're also going to break it on a socioeconomic level, and then we're going to put it in the context of where he would be placed in society if he were in London, England, when Shakespeare was alive, since he wants to reverence him so much. So now I want to hear what you have to say, because you really have been silent in all this, and your thoughts are valuable to this two-man team.
Let me get to this super chat real quick. 007 says Lupe needs to wake up and realize that he's not creating a money grab. He unfortunately doesn't make waves like that, but I could be wrong. The Lupe fans are gonna kill you in this. You know what? My thoughts on this was I didn't understand how it got to this point. Hold on, let me rewind. My first thought, and when all of this was going on, was the fact that we've been doing this show for 2+ years now, and we give flowers to everybody, and give credit where credit's due. I think Lupe has one of the strongest hip hop albums of the year, definitely in the running for lyricist of the year. And we speak to those things from show to show. We nerd out about the greatness of people past, present, and and current. And whenever we do those things, it seems that, even if artists are watching, those aren't the things that get them to communicate with us, right? And not that we want, them to communicate with us on any level. We do this for the fans. We do this because we love the music. But I just find it funny that, whenever there is a disagreement and, a different ideological perspective on things, that's what brings people out to the point where we're going back and forth on Twitter. And I just find that interesting. And shout out to people like Jay Skis, Love the Genius, who's come on the show before, my man Mickey Fax. Shout out to Yo-Yo. She did an interview with me when she didn't have to. Same thing with Kwame. So I don't want to kind of be a hypocrite and get lost in that same energy and not give props to the people who have given, shown love. But I just find that very interesting that those are the things that bring people out. And on top of that, I think that there is a way where this could have been a progressive conversation. And, I didn't follow all of the tweets, but, a few of them. And yeah, I just didn't understand how it got to this point and how it didn't become, just a positive engagement and interaction. And you know what? Let me say this too before you go back. I said this on the previous show. I didn't really have a problem with the Shakespeare thing, because I think that's just a matter of taste and this and that. I did see where some people were going when it came to people feeling, and Lupe's not the only one who's made statements like this, and maybe this is not where the statement was coming from, but being above rap music. And I think that, you know, even when we elevate ourselves, people of the culture, to that next level of notoriety or artistic merit, we're still hip hop. And that's fine. It's okay to still, you know, represent rap on whatever level, in my opinion. And if someone disagrees with that, that's fine. And I just don't see why people couldn't just, you know, disagree on a certain topic and do it, you know, in a way where it didn't become a pissing match, you know?
Correct. Let's I'm gonna try to piggyback off a few of the things that you brought up right quick before I move forward any further and get to the actual meat of this, at least on my side. I actually tweeted that to him. I was like, when I was talking about how you do more community work and that you do the community work that these other rappers claim to do, I said you were silent. You had nothing to say to us or about us when I made that statement. You get what I'm saying? And so it does come off to me as problematic that somebody that is thoughtful and intelligent like him still only responds to the negative connotations of things, never the positive affirmations given out. When I can place you in a sphere lyrically next to Nas and Rakim, which I literally don't even do for my favorite MC, Pusha T. And I want to say that live because I said it on Twitter. I never once on the show have compared my favorite MC currently, Pusha T, because I don't even count Nas as currently, because I've like literally been listening to him since I was about 11, 12 years old. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever heard me compare Pusha T to Nas or Rakim on this show?
No. No, real quick though, I mean,
have you heard me compare Lupe to Nas and Rakim on this show?
You did. Real quick though,
Yeah.
some of the people in the chat are saying that your energy wasn't positive on the show and when we started the conversation. So I guess, you know, it's you know, people are saying that he's reacting in the energy that you brought forth from jump. What do you say about that?
Everybody has an opinion, and so the people that feel that way, I'm going to own that and be accountable for that. Like, I'm not hiding or backing or running from anything, because what people have to understand is that even in debate, there is really no such thing as a flawless victory. There are nicks and knacks, and there are points and measures, and there are positives and there are negatives, and there are detracting points. Nobody wins a debate 100% to 0%. Okay? And so if you want to say that is a detraction of mine in the context of this debate, then I'm going to own that and accept that.
Okay.
I mean, because it would be trivial for me at this point and keep me from getting to the points that I want to make, for me not to just kind of own it, accept it, and kind of like keep it pushing. Because it's like, well, you know, he gave me that energy back, but then he deleted that energy. You know, that's what I'm saying. It's like, say whatever you want to say about me, but it's like, if you feel that I gave that energy off, at least I stood on it like a man. And I didn't delete anything.
I need to rewatch the episode because, you know, we be going and, you know,
I got that whole 30-minute racist diatribe, apparently.
I got that whole Q-tip thing where it's like, I don't even like listening to myself back, you know, but Nas the Goat said that, you know, you said that he was on some sucker shit, and I could see how that, you know, could ignite somebody to...
No, and I went on Twitter, and you can ask Nas the Goat. Me and Nas the Goat had a back and forth on Twitter, and he was like, nah, Coop, you said it was some sucker shit. And I said, well, if I said it like that, I said, you know, we go live and it's unrehearsed. I said that wasn't proper. Yep. I said, but I still stand on the majority of like the statements that I made. I said, if I said it was some sucker shit, I was like, then, you know, I'll own that. But notice I didn't say like, oh, well, give me that back. It's like, no, I own that I said that. Like, okay, like, you're right. You feel what I'm saying? Like, ain't no running or no ducking or hiding in me at the end of the day. So,
well, I mean, you know, it's again, people disagree, and I think there is a...
Right, when I'm wrong, like I say I'm wrong, though. You feel what I'm saying? He's like, no, you're wrong for doing that, Coop. I was like, you want to know what? I am wrong for doing that. But the point stands, so let's keep going.
So go ahead.
You know, I want to bring up a few things. He referenced, you know, Shakespeare as being his final boss. And it's just, I mean, for me, Mike, I'm well read and I'm well traveled, and I'm one of those persons or one of those type of people. Let me say that properly. I like to dig.
Yeah.
You feel me? I was in Rome once with my ex-wife, with me, me.
Mm-hmm.
And when we were together and we were at the Coliseum, we ran into this couple. The guy was a police officer from Athens, Greece. We still follow each other on Instagram to this day. His wife's name in English was named Cross. So his name was Kostoff and Cross was him and his wife's name. Met him, and me and him immediately, we hit it off. He's a big history buff like I am, big literary guy like I am. We're literally walking through the Coliseum. This is a Greek guy. It's like literally just breaking down like all the like Roman and Greek history and he's explaining things that like, quite frankly, like the books don't tell you and that you won't even believe. And, he tells me, pretty much all the literature, the modern day English language still comes from the Greek and the Roman literature. And I'm like, no, well, what do you say about Shakespeare? He's like, Shakespeare took all his stuff from the Greeks and the Romans. And he did. And that is where I want to go because, since he wants to debate, let's pull out the facts about who Shakespeare is and is not as a writer. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
Because I said what I was saying intellectually and coming from a place. It's like, how can he be your final boss if you know what I know, but maybe you don't know. So maybe I'm going to educate you on it. You ready?
Go ahead.
First of all, my main problem and the part about where he wants to bring race into it, the first black man that's considered to be a resident in London is found in 1593, Mike. His name is Cornelius. 1593, the first documented black residence. Shakespeare is born from 1564 to 1616. Literally around 1592 is when the prominence of Shakespeare's plays start. Now, in this time, do you think that Cornelius would have been allowed in to see one of Shakespeare's plays?
No.
Do you think he would have been allowed to be a co-writer for one of Shakespeare's plays?
Not at all.
Actor on stage?
Hold on. What do you think about the notion where people say that Shakespeare was black?
Show me the proof when the first black resident they have documented in London, which is right next to Stratford, the suburb in which he spent half his time and lived, and then the other part in London with the company, is 1593 with Cornelius. There's obviously no black people around. And the movement of black people around comes from the West and transatlantic slave trade, quite frankly. So if you were black and in London, you weren't free. And so it struck me as odd that somebody that I know is so intelligent and comes from a very, very staunch black upbringing, like a Muslim, Black Panther, West African descent upbringing, that is probably privy to these things, would choose Shakespeare as that guy. I wasn't pulling that from anywhere, and I want to go further into the literary part of it.
Let me get to the super chat real quick, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Jay Short says, it wasn't the fact that he brought up Shakespeare. Why did he have to dismiss other rappers to elevate Shakespeare? I think you guys keep it too PC because we all know what Lupe really meant. We support you. I appreciate the support, Jay Short.
I mean, I
Always.
don't even...
Go ahead.
I don't think that's fair I kind of have said that, and we're going to get into that, and we're going to get to the music side of it too, because I told you I've actually been going back and going through all this stuff. Mm-hmm. I obviously started with The Cool because it's my favorite project of his, and it's still what I think his best project. After listening to it from beginning to end for the first time in a very long time, I still stand on that for a variety of reasons, and we're going to unpack that. But let's get back to Shakespeare. Because I brought up Toni Morrison, because after we get to Shakespeare, we're going to get up to Toni Morrison, and then I'm going to show you the difference about what I was saying, and that it wasn't just some racial diatribe. And I brought up the psychological aspect of it. So Shakespeare's most famous plays, Mike, are all pretty much makeovers. He's just a better writer than the previous set of writers that he stole these ideas and themes and plots from, okay? Mm-hmm. His only real true original work that's considered to be classic is Hamlet. That is his original masterpiece. Romeo and Juliet comes from the tragedy of Romulus and Juliet, which came out in 1562, 2 years before he was born. Okay? William Painter released a book that had a tantamount of stories in it that came from an Italian writer group or a couple, Tancred and Gismond. 1566, literally when Shakespeare was 2. Listen to the play. The play tells the story of a father, Tancred, whose widowed daughter, Gismund, returns home and begins a clandestine affair with one of her father's courtiers. He kills her lover and presents her with a gold cup containing his heart. She kills herself and her father, stricken by grief and regret, and does likewise, thereby extinguishing his kingly line. He's just flipping it.
Yeah.
It's not original writing.
Oh, so Eric Terrell with the super chat says the Greeks stole science and culture from Africa. Come on, Coop.
Yes, but he's talking about Shakespeare. We're not talking about the Greeks and Africans.
I think they're talking about when you're talking about civilization, and the first black person in Europe was, at what date did you say? 1598, 93?
No. I didn't say in Europe. I said in London. The first documented black resident in London is in 1593. Shakespeare's born in 1564. So it's like blacks aren't even like around the London and surrounding area like that. No.
Can you clarify what you're saying there? Because I see some people in the chat saying things like, black people traveled the world for eons and this and that. When you say documented black resident in London, go ahead.
Okay. In the 1500s, if you're probably a black in London, you were probably a slave and not a free person.
Right.
And there are no documentations. Because if you, let's say we were there and we're part of it, well, like with a lot of things, we've been closed out of it. No, haven't we?
Right.
There's not any documentation of it, really. So they're literally treating us like we weren't there, even if we were. What does that tell you about the environment?
Right.
So, I mean, either way that you all want to toss it, it is not, it's not palatable, really. And so let's go, and we're going to keep on going. This isn't like the first interpretation that he takes and makes into his interpretation. And I'm not saying that the writing's not there, because he's obviously taking these plays and taking these writings to a place that the previous writers did it. But he's also taking it. In hip hop terms, that would be called having a ghostwriter. How can a goat be the ghostwriter? I'm going to keep going. Taming, let's go to some of the actual literature. In The Taming of the Shrew, the central focus, the theme of the story, is a man who physically and psychologically abuses a woman to the point of coercion into marriage. Is that something that you would want to have Maya read as a young black woman?
Well, no.
Okay, that's what Taming of the Shrew is about.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Is it's like if he wants to start getting into it and unpacking it and have a real intellectual debate about it, let's start.
But again, we glorify Eminem's records too. But
Listen to this. The plot for Macbeth came from Raphael's Holinshed's Chronicles in 1582 when Shakespeare was a teenager. His plays of Julius Caesar, Antony and Cleopatra, and Coriolanus all come from Plutarch's Lives, 48 biographies of Greek and Roman leaders. These plays had already been made. He just redid them. Giovanni Guaraldi, who is known as a writer, as Cinthio, wrote the plot for Othello in 1565 when Shakespeare was 1. All of his major plays, except for Hamlet, pretty much came from somewhere else first. It's not original writing. But you want to know who is original writing? W.E.B. Du Bois, like I brought up. James Baldwin, like I brought up. And definitely at the top of that list, Toni Morrison, like I brought up.
You got Toni Morrison at the top of your list? I was going to ask you something about that because, hold on one second. Nas the Goat with the super chat says, Dragent Wave is his best project in my opinion. We got Dumb It Down and says, going so deep into a tweet, but every rapper thinks that they're the best. Every rapper says other rappers can't touch them, but if Lupe says it, he's narcissistic.
At no point did I call him narcissistic, and notice I haven't brought up the rap aspect part. I'm on the Shakespeare part. So that tweet really doesn't apply to where I'm going with it. I'm not really addressing the rap aspect. I'm addressing the Shakespeare aspect.
What do you say to people who would say that, Toni Morrison, rest in peace, she bashed, she wasn't highly favorable of black men in the patriarchy, and she actually said she didn't believe in male patriarchy, and as far as black men leading or men leading in general.
We haven't given her valid evidence to believe otherwise. Not enough. So her opinions and her thoughts get to stand until we do better. I just feel that way as a man.
I
Like
disagree with that, but
she's no. She's entitled to that as a woman. That's part of like where like the patriarchy and like the misogyny of it like really takes its place. It's like, well, if she's not entitled to that opinion and then that thought, then that is oppressive. Yes, so she gets to say that the same way we get to disagree with it, or the same way that if you don't agree with it, that's okay. But she gets to have that.
no, that's fine. People can believe
Yeah.
whatever they want, but I guess that if someone isn't into that person's writing, because of those things, are those valid too? And is it also valid to say that there is a system of supremacy that is against black men being leaders in the black community that would use those type of ideologies for wrongdoing?
It's funny that you bring that up, which is why I have a couple of things. Okay, so she's not just a writer. Quick history lesson. She's the first black female editor for a publishing house in New York City, Random House. She did this as a divorced single mother of two. She has made contributions to plenty of males and male authors as an editor and a publisher. Like in 1972, the editor for contemporary African literature, which featured an author by the name of Chinua Achebe, the writer of Things Fall Apart.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the album that the Roots named the book that he wrote after. No, she's responsible for that. She's the editor of that book. She's the one that took that book on. The Black Book, the story of slavery in the 1920s, where she found the story to the woman who killed her 2-year-old to avoid slavery that she turned into Beloved 15 years later.
Mm-hmm.
She's responsible for that.
Mm-hmm.
To Die For, the writings of Huey P. Newton. Yeah, she's the editor of that book. The autobiography of Muhammad Ali, she is the editor for that book. She's done plenty of contributions to black males in the sphere, and plenty of preeminent black males, obviously, and the people around them have gone to her. She gets to say it.
But even with
She is also the editor for Women, Race, and Class by Angela Davis. Like, her mark is everywhere on us.
I agree with that, but even with that being said, she has a huge scope of some powerful black men, and her still having that outlook. That's problematic. You know what I'm saying?
Hold on. If Mark Twain gets to use nigger and be in the canon, though, she gets to like have an issue with black men. All right.
I hear what you're saying, but what I'm saying is like,
but do you feel what I'm saying? It's just like, no, too many people with other issues that are way more problematic than that issue are in the canon of writers.
All I'm saying is I think when people are in that position and they have that power, for lack of a better term, their ability to amplify their voices could be used for wrongdoings from people who don't have our best interests at heart. I mean, is that not legit?
No, that's legit. But what I'm trying to tell you is her personal ethos didn't affect her professional sphere and how she projected it. When it was professional, she did what was supposed to be done and contributed to plenty of black men. You're talking about, no, what I'm saying is you're talking about her personal thoughts and feelings and not her professional contributions. Her professional contributions say that her personal thoughts never affected the professional contribution.
Well, people had issue with how black men were depicted in Beloved.
I mean, I did too.
The
writing is stellar, but it's like, I mean, okay, it's like you take issue with these things, but it's like, well, we'll take issue with the fact that whoever was playing Othello originally definitely wasn't black. You know what I'm saying? Like take issue with that then.
Born King with the super chat says,
like if you want to start taking issues and start nitpicking, let's go back to the top and start nitpicking, because you want to know it. If we start nitpicking, then race is going to start coming into it so much. So she kind of gets to have that. Mark Twain gets to say nigger. Shakespeare gets to write about whoever he wants, but it's all men on stage. Not even women get to get on stage. They get to have that. She gets to have issues with black men.
Even if it hurts us from people who, don't have our best interests at heart.
She
Because at that point,
professionally
you
has
can get
contributed
used.
more. She has professionally contributed more, literally, to black men directly than she has torn them down publicly, is what I'm telling you. Professionally contributed more to the uplifting of black men. Like, I don't know, Huey P. Newton and Muhammad Ali. It really doesn't get much bigger in a higher class of promoting and upholding black men than that, Mike.
And
I
I
mean,
think
so
that it's even more interesting that, she had that kind of relationship with such powerful black men of that
that's why they
stature,
respected her.
and still felt the way that she felt. I just
Well,
found
that's
that.
part of why they respected her and wanted to be around her, though. Don't you understand that part of it, Mike? Because she challenged them and made them strive to be better, because maybe a lot of what she was kicking was real.
Born King with the super chat says Color Purple was trash.
That's
Um,
Alice Walker.
well, again, I just wanted
That's
to
Alice
put that out
Walker.
there. No, no, I know. I wanted to put that out there. You know what I'm saying? And because I have been seeing some of those statements out there too when it comes to, you upholding Toni Morrison. So I figured that
Well,
I
I
would
mean, this
just
is
put
what I
that out
mean.
there.
As far as, okay, so, and I know people were going to say this, so this is why I say Toni
People are like,
Morrison.
yo, can we move on?
No, because I look at it like on rap terms, and it's like, well, the people that we say are the best are usually ones that are like the most proficient at the craft
Hmm.
and entertaining at the same time. Like, it's
I
not
got
just
you.
that Nas and Rakim are proficient; it's that they are entertaining with their classic level of songmaking. Correct? Well, that's who she is as a writer. She's the one that has the prose and the entertainment level.
Hmm. No, I got
Like,
you.
a lot of, like, I don't care what anybody says. How about this? Her thesis, her doctoral, I mean, was it a master's or a doctoral thesis? One of her theses when she was at Cornell was literally on Virginia Woolf and William Faulkner. They can be boring as fuck sometimes. She prose wise is the every bit of the writer Faulkner is, and highly more entertaining. I'm speaking like and I'll just say this. If Shakespeare is the best, does that mean Babe Ruth is the best? You feel what I'm saying? When you jump down that rabbit hole, it's like, well, we just had this whole Barry Bonds conversation, didn't we? It's like, well, how can you say Babe Ruth is the best? He didn't play against no black people. Where were the black writers that Shakespeare had to go up against and like juxtapose himself to? Where's the fairness? There has to be a quality for you to be like the GOAT. You can't be a ghostwriter and be the GOAT. If Shakespeare was around right now, you know who he'd be? He'd be Drake.
That's a fair point as far as, you can't be the GOAT if everybody's not playing. You know what I mean?
And if you're not writing the work yourself, Mike, how many conversations have we had about Drake and the questionable pen? This is the same thing with Shakespeare. It's no different. Goats don't have ghostwriters.
I was I'm a huge Tom Brady fan, man. I've been watching
So am I.
Tom.
That's
Yeah,
where we agree all the time.
I've been watching Tom versus Time. I mean, that between that and The Last Dance, I watched that like a million times over. But I remember when the Patriots had their undefeated season, and obviously they lost in the end, and Tom was watching that game. He was like, "Shit still hurts." But what was interesting about that season at the time, mind you, all of my friends were Patriot haters. You know what I mean? I guess they hated everything that Patriots stood for, the whole Patriot way thing. And I just saw a team that worked proficient and the greatest quarterback I had ever seen. And I guess I was like 10 years ahead of that conversation, maybe 12 years ahead of that conversation, whatever. But anyway, that season, they played everybody. They had no weak schedule at all. They played everybody. And I was so glad. I was like, yeah, so y'all ain't going to be able to say shit. Because they were ready to say, oh, they had a weak schedule. Or this, and then we hear that all the time in sports when people, and even with the Patriots going to the playoffs as much as they did, their division's weak. Yada, yada. And you're right. You can't be the GOAT if everybody's not involved. It is what it is. You got a weak schedule.
So I'm gonna piggyback off your Tom Brady thing. Well, I wasn't as big of a Tom Brady fan around that time because he had beat my Carolina Panthers in the Super Bowl, where he showed himself to be Tom Brady. Like, that's when Tom Brady really arrived, was actually in that fourth quarter against Carolina. That the Tom Brady that we know, that guy came to life in the fourth quarter of that game. So really wasn't a big fan of his, seeing how just a couple years removed from that. But they got my guy Randy Moss. And Randy Moss, to quote the Black Thought and Danger Mouse album that's about to drop, well, having Randy Moss is like having a cheat code, because for the first time, Brady gets to go off script. As in, if I'm in trouble, guess what I get to do for the first time?
Yeah.
Right. That was unfair to everybody else. The only team that probably should have beat them that year was that Baltimore game. Because Baltimore
I remember
had
that
them,
game. That was the
literally
first
took
one
a
that came to
Dante
mind.
Stallworth catch in the corner of the end zone after I think Brady completed like 2 third downs against a great Baltimore defense. That's prime Suggs, prime Ray Lewis, prime Ed Reed. That was the game.
I was at my boy Melvin's house watching that game, and he was rooting for the Ravens so heavy. And when they pulled it out, niggas was mad. But again, I like it like that because they went against everybody.
No, they had a real schedule.
Mad Max with the super chat says Shakespeare has 4 works that resonate in popular culture to this day. Off of that, 600 years old. Stop.
Okay.
Shout out to Mad Max in the building.
So listen to what I'm about to say to that. Well, Toni Morrison's first novel is The Bluest Eye in 1970. The fact that she's already in this conversation, so you just give it time.
Yeah. Well, all right.
Right.
I know we got to move on and stuff.
Because here's also what I know. Like, she only wrote about 11 actual like books. Like the rest of them are like memoirs and like, you know, literary like commentary and work and stuff like that. But the 11 books that she wrote, oh yeah, go pull out Shakespeare's best 11 shits. Let's go. That's what I want to debate. And so since he likes to debate on Twitter and everybody feels like he won on Twitter, I want him to come on here live and let's debate the literary devices of Toni Morrison versus William Shakespeare.
Also, that's the debate
when he starts bringing up the literary devices of William Shakespeare, I'm going to start pulling the quotes from the books that he stole that shit from. Good night.
So hold on. Before we get on to the next topic, so you and Lupe,
are you going to admire the literary devices that are stolen?
Are y'all going to actually, first of all, are y'all going to have a debate? And when y'all have a debate, if you do, what is the debate going to be about? Because that's what I was kind of confused on. Like, I didn't know what you guys were actually going to debate on.
He wanted to debate whatever he felt like to stroke his ego. I want to debate something concrete. If he feels like Shakespeare is his final pit boss and best writer ever, I say Toni Morrison. I say you pull his best, I'll pull her best. Let's go. The only problem is you actually have to pull his best, as in no interpretations, no minor pulled from works, which means as far as his classic work, you're going to be left with Hamlet and a lot of throwaways that most people don't remember. So good luck with that. Well, I would like Toni Morrison's original thoughts and works.
I would like to see y'all debate, you know, what makes a great writer. But I guess that's just me, you know, as a fan of a great writer.
What makes a great writer? No, there are tons of things that makes a great writer. That's like, you know, when you're saying that, it's like, well, I love Nas and Tupac the same, but for different reasons, Mike. You feel me? But they're both really great writers. Okay. It's like, you know, Me and My Girlfriend and I Gave You Power are classic rap songs, but the interpretations and the play on it is totally different, you know? And so that's a never-ending fight that he and I would have, because I could have that never-ending fight with anybody. Like, you know, he and I, we aren't that different. Somebody brought that up, you know. He's like, you know, kind of known to go off the rails sometimes, highly intelligent, wordy, problematic, pro-black. I only said the statement because I'm aware of his pro-blackness. You understand? When he went to Shakespeare, I was like, what the fuck? I was like, you went to Shakespeare? I was like, no. I understand some other guys. Because I'm going to tell you what, there are other guys who kind of fashion themselves as intellects. And they're really not the intellects that you think that they are on the mic. They just say really intelligent stuff on the mic. No, he's an intellect. And so when he said it, I took it differently because it was him. That's what I'm saying is it's like people got to start
hold him high is why you were as passionate about what you were saying.
Right. If Soulja Slim would have said it, I wouldn't be saying nothing. I probably would have laughed.
Soulja Slim. Rest in peace to Soulja Slim.
I mean,
Jay Short with the super chat says, we can't. I didn't
mean it like that. I mean, rest in peace, Soulja Slim. I'm just saying, like, if a really like notorious street rapper from down here would have said something like that, like somebody that's talked about like his really impoverished upbringing, the way, you know what I'm saying? Like I probably wouldn't even pay it no mind, but it's like, oh, Lupe said that. It's like, oh, what the fuck? I don't know.
Jay Short with the super chat says, we can't stop. We got to stop letting this our culture. I guess we can't we can't get to stop letting this our culture in a non-black form. I'm glad you guys covered this and called it out. Folks wanting to make their money off of hip hop and have disdain for us at the same time. I know we got to get on to the music because, people probably want us to get to the music.
I will say
Is there anything that you want to say in closing about this situation, this scenario?
Yes. I actually have a quote from Amiri Barker I want to read. He said, as long as black writers were obsessed with being accepted by middle class, they would never be able to speak their mind, and that would always lead to failure. That's a quote from Amiri Barker. As long as black writers are obsessed with being accepted by middle class, they would never be able to speak their mind, and that would always lead to failure. I just found the Shakespeare thing to be kind of like a middle class, easy kind of like thought from somebody that I look at as an intellect who thinks deeper. And when he pulled up, and so when he pulled up with I think that you think that you're smarter than me, I was like, oh, that's what we're doing. I'm like, well, okay. I guess that's what we're doing.
Yeah, the few tweets that I followed, I was like, okay, well, this is gonna get somewhere that is non-progressive.
Well, you want to know what? A lot of that is because he and I really aren't that much different, and so it's either going to go really well or really bad. And so that one went really bad, and so I just kind of got back on my square and got back to the actual points and focuses for what made me go on what he called a racist diatribe. And so I hope I've clarified some of it on my side. He is more than welcome to come and debate me about his final boss who has ghostwriters.
Y'all should do a Twitter space or something. But
they were inviting me to that. I'm going to tell you what's so real. I've only been on Twitter for a year, and I don't even really know what Twitter space is.
Yeah. It's kind of like being on the phone in front of, all the masses amounts of followers and something, So I think that, y'all could probably get somewhere. We'll see. But let's move on, man.
Let's move on. I mean, Mike, you know me personally. Is like this even like how I like handling stuff? Okay, then. All right. I'm on Twitter. That's awesome.
It's funny, man. Both of you guys are really big Nas fans, too.
You want to know what's crazy?
Writers and writing.
It was written. Like we both. Okay, so check this out. He started writing, I think, after he heard it was written. So did I, but I went and wrote to Illmatic because the beats were better. But around the same time, and we're obviously the same age. I'm older than you by 8 months. I'm older than him by like 4 months. We're all the same age. So so when I'm probably on here talking about Illadelph Half-Life, he knows what I'm talking about. We're the same age. When I'm talking about the score, he knows what I'm talking about. He was there in '96. AT Aliens, like all his influences and my influences are comparable.
Yeah. LP with the super chat says, Nas the GOAT, truest, and dumb it down, Coop or fade. LP with the funniest super chats in here. Let's go to the game.
Hold on. Now, I will say this. Me and Dumb It Down had some tense words on Twitter, and we actually went to the DMs and worked it out. And this is what I mean. Dumb It Down went in the DMs, and he was like, Coop, your energy wasn't right. He was like, I'm only telling you because I fuck with you. And I was like, I said, that's real that you put shit on pause to jump in here and say that to me. I'm going to jump back out and clear it up. And that's what I mean is that I was a man about this shit the whole time. Every time I was wrong, because I understand how debate really works. You really lose a debate when you're arrogant and act like you don't lose a thing. You have to own it because it's live. So he like, nah, Coop, he in the DM like, Coop, I'm telling you personally, you wrong. I've been watching the show from Jump Fam. You're wrong. Like you tripping right now with the end. I'm like, bet. I'm like, that's real shit for real. Thank you. I'm going to jump out and fix it right now. Boom, boom, bam. Done. It went down just like that. Dumb It Down, I'll tell you.
Well, shout out to the following, man. Y'all are really loyal with this, and we all love hip hop so much that we come
That's
together.
All it is at the end of the day, too.
Yeah, we all got love for the same thing.
And also, too, I had somebody who knows me kind of slide in and is like, well, you know, if he didn't respect you at all, he wouldn't say shit because he usually don't say shit about shit to nobody anyway, Coop.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah.
But you know, I
Yeah.
also want to get it clear too, man. I don't want people to feel like, you know, we here on some clout chasing shit. Like that's not what we're here to do. Like we're
Well,
here
that's why I
to
wasn't atting you. And that's why I was kind of like just talking to him directly. And notice it's like I didn't put any of our stuff up on any of my personal social media page. Like, hey guys, look at me get into it with Lupe. Because that is clout chasing.
Yeah. But
you won't find that on any of my personal social media pages. It's like you either are following Twitter or according to hip hop to know that it happens. There's one private group that is literally a hip hop group that knows outside of that, but I haven't taken it like to any personal place to chase clout or try to gain more followers. Anybody that knows me knows that I'm not that guy. Like people that know me that know that I would really like enjoy more really debating him than getting any sort of real following out of it. Like people who know me. You know what I'm saying? So
Eric Terrell with the super chat says, so when Kanye said he wasn't a rapper, he was Disney, Steve Jobs, etc. Isn't that the same thing?
I thought that. Let's not get into the wild stuff that Ye be saying. Can we not do that today? Like
Ryan Gillum says, did I miss out on the Lupe live debate? Ryan Gillum, you're gonna have to watch the rebroadcast. He didn't do a live debate with Lupe. It didn't happen. And I know people want us to move on because we spent a lot of time on this.